Laura, I am recording this, so I will be able to send you a recording afterwards that if people were not able to get on, that you could share with them.
Great, thank you.
But as I was saying, I have used it in almost every grade level, every subject area, and all. So regardless, we've got a wide span of grades here today. Just think how it would work in your curriculum and all. So let me, whoops, get down there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of break this into two parts. And if to start with, I'm going to have to be my students so that you can
It says K to 12.
okay, I'm muting some people so that you can see what your students will experience when you are delivering a lesson. And then the second part is I'm going to have you actually in your Nearpod account, okay? And I'll be sending additional resources afterwards. So what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to be sharing my screen. Okay, we're still getting a lot of feedback. So if you're not muted, please mute.
Oh my God, why am I on here as you?
Okay, just mute.
Sorry.
So we're starting, and this is my, I'm in my Nearpod library. And you will, your library as a starting out will not look like this, but I've been using it a long time. So I have a lot of lessons in my library. And so what we're going to do is, as I said, you're going to be my student. So I want you to go to nearpod.com, and there's a join banner there, and I'm going to give you a code, because that's what you will be doing with your students. So just go to nearpod.com, and then I am doing a live participation. You will be able to do both a live or a student paced, and we'll talk about that. And in a virtual teaching environment, you may
weirdo sitting here with my mask on this thing.
Okay, I'm muting. Please mute. So here is your code. It's XAICP. It's not case sensitive. You are always, it's always going to be 5 letters and such. And for me, the teacher, once I start the lesson, I will always have this code up in the left corner of my screen, so that if someone does come in late, it's very easy for me to give them the code, and they'll come in right into the lesson where we are. Now, I will tell you this, every time you launch a lesson, you will get a new code. And for those of you that are maybe middle school, high school, and you have different periods, I always suggest that for each period you launch, even if it's the same lesson, a new code, so that your reports will be broken down by your periods. So everybody should be at nearpod.com. There's a join banner that you can just click there, or there's another spot where it says student enters the code. Okay. All right, so here we go. This is an introductory to Nearpod. We will kind of skip over some of the things very quickly just because we're limited to an hour. I'm a retired educator. I do a lot of consulting and traveling now. Well, not traveling so much right now, but I am a certified level 3 trainer for Nearpod. So I've been doing a lot of training over the past weeks on Nearpod. Now, this is just a short survey, not even a survey. It's a Google form. And if you'll put in your email address and your name, and that way I can send you additional materials and resources. So put in your complete email and your name. But this is also an example of what you can do within your presentations. You can embed, I have this as a Google form that I created and brought into my Nearpod. Okay, so I see not everyone, let's see, we're still getting people on, that's fine. If you're looking for the code, it's XAICP. For me, the teacher, down on the bottom left-hand side of my screen, I can see how many of my students are in the lesson with me. So you don't have to call out and ask each individual, have you logged in? Okay. Now, especially for middle school, maybe 5th grade on up, this is a tool in Nearpod that you will want to have your students get in the habit of turning on. Up in the top right-hand corner, and I'd like all of you to do it regardless of what grades you teach, you have an icon. It looks like a pencil and a paper. And you want to click on that, and then you choose you're opening your notes. How do you want your notes sent to you? You want it sent through email, saved to your Google Drive, or saved to OneDrive. And what happens is that your students can take notes as you're doing your lesson, but it also will send them a copy of the whole Nearpod presentation. Now, you will not see the students' notes. They are strictly for them and all. But it's a wonderful tool, and by you turning it on today, you will get this presentation as well. And as I go through it, you may see several slides that has an arrow, and that means there's some more slides down there. And they're usually just reinforcement slides, showing you again, how did she get to notes? Okay, the icon's up in the top right-hand corner of the student screen and all.
Just to interrupt you for a second, some of our teachers can't get in because it's at capacity. Because we definitely had more than 100 people attending this webinar.
Okay, see, I was only told 100.
That's gonna be you.
Okay.
She says, you want to just sit here with me? Just sit, and then you could just send Laura a note that says you sat with me.
Okay. Oh, I heard you.
Oh, you heard me?
I heard you. Thank you.
Okay.
So, all right.
But Laura, remember that I am sending you this.
The recording. Yeah, I'm going to send an email out and let our staff know if they can't get on to listen to the recording. And if there's any admin that want to jump off and just wait for the recording, then those spots can open up as well. So
Okay.
Laura, I'll jump off. It's Danielle. So one of the teachers can get on.
okay, you could stay on, Danielle. It's fine. You could use this too. And I'll have recordings for other people. It's fine.
Okay. Yes, I have a paid version of Zoom, and
Yeah, the first paid is only up to 100. You got to go to the second one to get 250.
right, and I just haven't haven't spent that money yet.
No, I know.
Okay, so this is just a quick question. It's a poll, and it's something built into my Nearpod, and I'm asking you to each tell me your familiarity with Nearpod. And polls are a great tool to have in your lessons because you can get 100% participation. You can get, you quickly tells you a response, because I'm seeing your answers in real time. And if there's some that are still trying to get onto the Nearpod, nearpod.com, join, and XAICP, XAICP is the code that you need. So a poll is a great way to involve all of your students and it's building for me a pie chart, and so that I see exactly, for me to know exactly where everybody is today. Most of you are saying, I've heard of Nearpod. Some of you are saying, Nearpod what? That's okay. And some that have used Nearpod some. So polls are a great tool, and students like to see the results of a poll, and I'm able to, I have a little share button, and I can share out what the poll is looking like and all. So, you know, it's how you collect data. But here's what I'm seeing. It was coming through like this. This is just a little pretend class. And as you were putting in your response, it was building this and building my pie chart. So some of you are probably saying, well, what is Nearpod? It is an interactive way of presenting your lessons. And one of your new best friends is going to be the Nearpod library, because you can make have lessons made very quickly, and by using there's over 8,500 lessons that you can use and edit and customize for your own class. Everything that can be graded, like a quiz, a collaborate board, you'll see the results. It'll all be in your reports. Now, you can put videos inside of your Nearpods, and then just at the beginning of August, Nearpod added a video library, an interactive one, and now there's over 1,000 videos there as well that have questions embedded. Or you can bring in a video from like YouTube and add your own questions. So we're real excited about this. Anytime I have a video, this pops up on my screen and it asks me, do I want to see it, the video, show it on all devices or this device only? I'm going to say this device only and all. So within this presentation, there are some very short videos that Nearpod has put in. And again, a great way to review. And so you can see this is just a little over a minute. And then even in self-paced or live participation, all you
Introducing
have to do
Nearpod.
is click on it.
With Nearpod, you can make every lesson interactive. Launch lessons your students can't wait to join with collaborative, engaging activities like virtual reality, simulations, and gamified quizzes. As the teacher, you'll always know where your students are with Nearpod's formative assessments, including polls, open-ended questions, drawings, and more. Get started with what you already have. Upload any of your favorite resources, PowerPoints, Google Slides, and videos, including directly from YouTube. Then, add in media and formative assessment in a few clicks. And now you can add questions directly into videos to make them interactive. Get started even faster with our library of pre-made lessons and videos, built in partnership with some of your favorite brands. You can use them as is or customize to meet the unique needs of your students. Once you're ready to launch your lesson, choose from 3 teaching modes. In live participation mode, you control the pace and students participate on their devices, either in person or remotely with web conferencing. In student-paced mode, students move through and participate on their own, whether they're working from home or in class working in centers, stations, or groups. With front-of-class mode, you can use Nearpod without student devices and facilitate collaborative discussions. Imagine what you can do with Nearpod. Your students will love lessons that combine engaging media with collaborative ways for them to show off how much they've learned. You'll love unlocking student understanding in real time and having reports to inform the next day's instruction. You'll wonder how you taught without it.
Okay, so you see how easily it is for you to have videos inside your lesson. And that keeps your students from going outside of Nearpod to get to a URL or such. So that's great. This was a lesson that I did several years ago on Predator and Prey. It started out in PowerPoint. And it was okay, but it was pretty boring. But I want you to see now that I've brought it into Nearpod, how it becomes interactive. And so these were just slides. This is one of everybody's favorite tools. It is the draw tool. So I'm asking you to draw a picture of what you think a predator would look like. Now, I don't spend any time telling my students about the tools that are there on your screen. All I do is say, there's more than black. There's other colors, because students are very willing to go in and click on things and such. And they're going to discover that eraser anyhow, and they'll want to start over. A lot of times when I do something that involves a draw it, I set a timer, which is something that is built in on a lot of the activities, so that I can say, you know, you only have 30 seconds to do this drawing. You know, another reason I love a activity like this, besides getting 100% participation, we all have those kids that never raise their hand, never speak up or something, and maybe they are really good at drawing. And so I have the opportunity to recognize them, and that really helps their self-esteem. And so I'm seeing your drawings in real time. So I could see if some people are not participating, and I could reach out and ask if they're having problems and all. It used to be I had to wait until you had finished the drawing to submit. So go ahead and finish up and submit and all. But as I said, I could find, you know, I could recognize a student for following directions, just a chance. And so like Emily is very shy. She never raises her hand, but she did this awesome drawing, and I can share it out, and it should show up on all of your screens. And then I could ask Emily to tell me why this is a predator. So it's a great tool for lots of reasons. So in a way, this is like a pre-assessment. I'm finding out, what do they know, or what do they think a predator is? And so here's what I was seeing, you know, on my screen. I was seeing a picture of what a predator would look like and all. Now there's other ways to draw it, and I'll show you that in a minute. So this just goes on. These are just slides about what a predator is. This is a different type of draw it. This was a slide that just had sentences, and my instructions is to circle the predator in each sentence. Because you can take any slide and convert it to a draw it. So I took this slide that you couldn't do anything with it, and I did convert to draw it. And I'm going to be showing you those ways to do this. And so again, another way of doing an assessment and such. And so as I move on and all, and as I said, I'm going kind of fast. I'm not waiting for everyone to finish. This is what I was seeing. I was seeing, and I can quickly look, okay, did they get it? Do they or not? And it tells me their understanding of what a predator is. Also within Nearpod, you can have 3D images, and this is a shark, and students love to, you know, move them around, you know, bring it up closer, look at the teeth. And with you on the Jersey Shore, I would think maybe you all have sharks sometimes. Now, this is a quiz. You could have 25 questions in your quiz. This only has one, and so you should be able to answer this pretty easily. Again, I'm going to be seeing the results in real time. And so it's also building me a pie chart like it did on the poll. And if my pie chart is mostly green, then I know that my class understands what we have been discussing. If my pie is red, then I know I need to stop, reteach, and such. So this will also be graded for you. You would see how the whole class did, and you can see how students did individually. You can look at it per question and all. So a quiz is very easy to incorporate into your lesson. And again, this is what I was seeing. So your teacher view and your student view, some pieces will be different. And so you can see, here was my chart over there. This is a Collaborate board, and again, a wonderful tool. I get a pop-up and it says, would you like to approve student comments before they are posted? This is you ask your students a question and they will put up Post-it notes, is what it looks like. Now, if you're an elementary teacher.
I'm sorry to interrupt. There was a question in the chat from one of the teachers that when you pulled up Emily's drawing, hers got kicked off. Why was that?
She probably hadn't well, I was showing it to everyone and she may not have submitted yet.
Okay, so everyone has to submit before you share one?
Right. And as I said, I'm just kind of, first of all, there's 100.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We just want to make sure. So in the class.
Yeah. But I wanted to show you that you could share out a drawing. Great question. And I love for you to interrupt and ask those, because those are things that help the teachers. So if you're an elementary teacher, you may not need to approve the post. I came out of middle school years ago, and if I was a middle school or high school, I might need to approve those posts. But I'm going to trust everybody. And so my question on my Collaborate board is search for a picture of a prey, add it to the Collaborate board, and describe your animal. You have down here in the bottom a text box, and you can type in there and say, a rabbit is a prey because, and then I just keep typing in Swedish. But right here is this little blue landscape. And if I click on that, it takes me to Google Images. And I would look for an image of a rabbit. And I would search for it. And I like that one. And then I save it. So now I have what is a prey and why. And then I can post it. Now, if a student happens to put something inappropriate and you missed it or something, there's a trash can on each of the posts, and you can click on that and just immediately delete it. Teachers are really using Collaborate boards a lot because it gets discussion from all of the students. Again, you could share one of these out and all. And so Collaborate boards, again, are one of my favorite tools. This was what I was seeing. They were coming in on my Collaborate board, and I was seeing the images and why this animal was a prey. And you can see this says this card was deleted because there's that trash can, so you can. Also, Nearpod has partnership with Immersive Reader, and this could be important for a lot of you in different grades. And so on certain slides, if you have this turned on in your settings, and we're going to look at your settings, that means that the question would be read out loud to you. If you were in a quiz, the question and the choices would be read out loud to the students if they clicked on that. So they've made partnerships with a lot of good companies. I just skipped through those other slides. Can an animal be both a predator and prey? This is an open-ended question. And so you can just start answering it. You don't have to write a dissertation. Now, an open-ended question is not going to be graded in your reports because there's really no right or wrong answer. But you will see each of the students' replies. And for me, the teacher, as I'm watching you enter this, and someone, oh my goodness, somebody else knows how to type in Swedish as well. It's giving me, it's showing me who has answered. It's telling me right now I have 16% participation. Again, I have a share button, so if someone comes up with a really good answer and I want all the class to see it and we want to talk about it, I can share it out to their screens. And so, like, you know, Lindsay's really given me a good answer about a frog eating a mosquito and so forth. So that would be a good one to share. And so again, because it's doing it in real time, I don't have to, you know, I can see exactly who has answered and who has not. And again, we're going on. I'm not waiting for everyone to answer that. This is what I was seeing. Here is my share button. Microsoft Sway is another partnership. I don't know if you're familiar with Sways. I tell teachers they're like PowerPoints on steroids. This is something built in that you can bring into your Nearpod lesson. I did not make this. I found it in as one of my ways to add content. They're very nicely done. You can get a lot of information. I'm just gliding down it. If I do have one, I need to make sure that I give my students time to read all the information. This might be something they want to take notes on. This is a stack. As I click through it, you can see there's other cards underneath it. So this is Microsoft Sway. Now this is matching words. And so you're to match the word with the definition. And so just go ahead and start doing that. And you build your own matching pairs. It could be a math problem and the answer. It could be an image to an image. It could be a text to an image. It could be a beginning letter with an image of like a B for ball, or you could have red, the word red and a red apple. So you create your matching pairs to fit your lesson and to fit the level of your students. What I'm seeing at this point is how many times it's taking you to make the match. And so if I have a student and all of a sudden there's, you know, eight matches and they're up to 20 tries, then I know they're not really participating or paying attention. So again, here is what I was seeing. I was seeing how many times, and you can see Oprah was just kind of clicking around hoping that they would match up pretty soon. This is a VR, and so this is on coral reefs, and you can, I'm just using my keypad and I can move in and out. I get a 360 view. You can have a leading question about the VR. If you want to show your students the pyramids in Egypt, you know, there's a lot of that. This is another partnership with, and this one's with 360 cities. So that was kind of going fast, but that's okay. you're going you'll get the response and everything. Now this is just a collaborate board, and I'm without having any images on it. So again, I'll remind you that when you get this, if there's a down arrow, that lets you know that there's other slides there to give you more of an explanation. And logging in to Nearpod is, is very easy. These are some of the main icons you'll see. This is, if you see this, you can always click on it and it'll take you to your home page or your library. Creating new lessons is very easy. Quick launch is like, you really didn't prepare a Nearpod lesson and you just think, oh, let's have I want to use this for an exit ticket, because I can do a quick launch and have an open-ended question, a draw it, a timer, or a collaborate board. We'll go into your profile because there's some settings there that are very important that I want to make sure that you look at, because you will, if you want immersive reader, you want to make sure it's toggled on, student notes, some different things about how students submit. And so that's just talking about the toolbar. As I said, the library is going to become your new best friend, because here's the Nearpod library, and you can search for lessons and our videos, and you can search by your state standards, by your grade level, by your subject area. You don't want to look at 8,500 lessons. And so, so those are filters that are within that search. And it's very easy to add a lesson from a Nearpod library into your library. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But as I said, we've got reinforcement for you to look at later. This is probably the question we get asked the most. How did you get that code? How do I launch a lesson? And so in this, there's this very short video saying how to launch a lesson.
It's easy to launch a Nearpod lesson from your Nearpod library. Once you're logged into your Nearpod library, you can see here, this is the home base. You hover over any lesson and you can choose a live lesson or a student paced. Any lesson can be launched either way. A live lesson is one where the teacher is driving the slides and changing them, and it changes on all the student devices. And a student-paced lesson is one where the students can go at their own pace and don't need the teacher to drive to change slides. I'll now show you how to launch a live lesson. I click Live Lesson. A code generates that you can share with students via email, link, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, and more. A student need only go to nearpod.com and enter the code as shown here. The code is not case sensitive. Once they have done this, they'll be prompted to enter their name, and then they click Join Session. The teacher can then control how the slides change on the student screen.
Okay, so that's how easy it is to launch a lesson, whether it be live participation or student paced. The student paced is the same steps. There is a tab, and we can change it in settings, or you can change it on each individual student paced lesson, in that whether you require students to complete all the activities. Obviously, I'm going to have it turned on because I want them to do the quiz and do the drawings and such. If you say, do a student-paced lesson, and you might say to your students, this is Monday morning, you need to go through this student-paced lesson and do all the activities by Thursday morning at 8 a.m. because the student-paced code is by default good for 29 days. And you have a view progress where you can go in and check on your students to see if they are working on the lesson, or are they going to save it for the last minute. Nearpod reports, more information than you probably can imagine that you can collect from just one lesson. And also you have a lot of data there. And for the whole lesson, for the whole class, for individuals. Again, you can play this short video later and all. See, I wish I had 2 hours instead of 1 hour, because I like for you not to feel that I'm rushing through this. And so this is fill in the blanks, and what you do, you have a word bank there, and you're going to drag the words into the correct blank. So it's like a drag and drop. And you can have a lot of text to make fill in the blanks in your lessons. We're not going to have time to do time to climb, but time to climb is a gamified quiz. Really all ages like it. Sometimes I do have high school teachers say, oh, that looks too elementary, but it's a great way to review. Our kids have been raised on video games and such. And you can take any of your quizzes and turn them into a time to climb. And so that's just one of the ways that you can add activities to your lesson. Okay, so as I said, there's additional resources that I'm going to be sending to you. I'm going to go through some of the ways you can add different contents, because you saw you can add a video, a field trip, you can bring in a PDF document. If you're a math science teacher, these are the PhET simulations, and they're divided up by high school, middle school, and elementary. There's SWAY, British Broadcasting. You can add audio files. There's a graphing calculator. It's like Desmos for you high school math teachers. You can bring in a web URL very easily so that it's part of the lesson. Very active on both Facebook and all. There's a Facebook group, Nearpod Educators. It's a wonderful group to participate in because teachers love to share and all. This is just a quick, Nearpod really likes to get feedback. It goes to them and all. And so I'm just kind of asking you to go through it just kind of quickly and also, but this is how they learn how to improve their training. What needs, they get some great suggestions. I had somebody the other day make a suggestion, and I thought, well, I'm going to put it into my survey, but I'm also, suggested putting it in here. And so once you have finished that, I'm going to be closing out this lesson, and we're going to be going into your account. So if you finish the survey, go ahead and go into your account. I have a little arrow down up here by my Nearpod at the top that's I can either click on and get to reports, or I can end session. So I'm going to go ahead and end the session. And it asked me if I wanted to do that for sure. And I'm saying yes. And so that popped me back into my library. And this is where I would like for all of you to be, is to be into your account, click on your Nearpod home button, and it should take you to your library. And when you're on this page, this is where you can go to different pieces. I want us first to go up here to your profile. Mine has a picture in it, but and yours may be just a gray circle. But click on that, slide down to lesson settings, and here you have about 5 advanced settings. And you can toggle these buttons on or off. And if you turn something on today and you want to turn it off after you've used it a while or vice versa, you can always come back and do that. So you can have this toggled on just by clicking that to enable student names to autofill. But here's the one, enable immersive reader. You know, a lot of you really want to have that turned on. I would enable student notes. That's what I ask you to do. This would be a personal preference. If you're in student pace mode, do you want the students to see the results after they have answered questions and all? So again, that's strictly up to you. Remember, student pace, they're doing it on their own time. Allow students to resubmit answers in live participation mode. I have mine turned off because if I was working with students, I want them to answer and I want to see their first answer. But I might have a group discussion on something and now students would like to resubmit after we've had the discussion. Certainly turn this on and enable Collaborate board for student-paced lessons. Mainly, if this is not turned on, you're doing a student-paced lesson, then when they get to that, it will come up on a Collaborate board and say, waiting for teacher input, and they will not be able to respond to your student-paced lesson. I would have this turned on. This is where they are, again, in student-paced lessons, and you want them to answer all the polls, quizzes, open-ended questions, and such before they move on to the next one. So I got to all of this by going to my profile, sliding down to lesson settings, okay? And then to get back to my home base or my library, I just click over here on Nearpod and that jumps me back to my library. Now, I told you that the Nearpod library was going to become your new best friend. So click on Nearpod library over there on the left-hand side. And here you are going to see where you would search through these 8,500 lessons. The first way to filter is up here by your state standards. So I would click that. I could scroll down to New Jersey. And I could say I was a math teacher in 8th grade. And I could look at my different strands. And I could pick one. And it would go out and say, these are two Nearpod presentations that will help you meet that standard. So that's a great way to find a particular lesson. I could just click on social studies. And then up here, I could say I want social studies, but I also just want 7th grade. So now I've made it social studies 7th grade. And I've got all of these. And if I'm studying the War of 1812, there's a great lesson. Some of these lessons are done by Nearpod staff. Some are in conjunctions with partners. Some are by teachers, like this is by Linda Hostetler. And she has a lot of great social studies lessons and all. So, you know, you learn, if you're a math teacher, Kathy Yinka does wonderful lessons. And all those lessons are vetted. You know, a teacher can't just throw one up there and have it in the library. You can just come here and search in the library. I'm going to search, I'm doing a unit on biomes. And I get all of these lessons on biomes. So here's how I get it from the Nearpod library to the my library. Here's one on ecosystems. Perfect. I preview the lesson, just like that. I look at it. I see that it has 48 slides, okay, but I know I can delete slides, I can add slides, but I like it, and oh my, the graphics are wonderful. And then I just click here and it says add to my library. I click on add to my library, and now if I go back to my library, here is the lesson on photosynthesis. It's still in the Nearpod library, but now it is in my library. And once it's in my library, I can edit. And I'm going to click on edit. And this is where I can add additional content, add additional activities and all. And so I've looked at this, and maybe I decide I don't want to use that slide or this slide or that slide. And I just select them and I click delete slides. Then it asks me again for sure, do I want to delete those slides? So that's how easy it is for me to do that. Now, here it says add a slide. And when I click on that, this is where I have the ability to add content or activities. All right, content is adding a web content, or it's adding one of the PhET simulations, or it's bringing in a video. So like if I want to add web content, I click on that. I type in my URL, and I'm doing this just because it's nice and short. I always test my link to make sure it goes to where it's supposed to go. Okay, there it went. And you know, I don't want any surprises at all. And so I test the link, and then I just hit save. Anytime I add content or activities, those slides land down here at the bottom. And I just take that slide and I drag it to where I would like to have it. Okay? Now, I go back up. I'm ready to, I want to add something else. I could do a PhET simulation. But I want to jump over to activities and all. And let me show you an open-ended question. You click on that, you type in your question, and that's all there is to it. But let me show you matching pairs. It comes up here. You type in your instructions, match the image, or match, I'm just going to say match the cards. It's not great instructions, but it'll have to do. And then I say add a pair. So I'm a math teacher, so I'm saying 9 times 9 equals, and here's my answer, 81. And I do have some math equations I can use as well. Add another pair. I'm doing B and beginning sounds, or maybe like that, and I add another pair. Or maybe I have ball and I add an image, and I say, here's Google Images, and I want to look for an image of a ball. And so I'm just going to take that and I save it. So I can do text to text, image to image, and all. I'm going to add one more pair. You're studying the presidents of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln. I'm going to add an image of Abraham Lincoln. I'm typing in Abraham Lincoln, and not just Lincoln, because if I just typed in Lincoln, I'm going to get images of a Lincoln car. So I'm just making my search a little bit better. And I have this little doohickey here, and I can make Abe bigger. So that's how easy it is to make your matching pairs. And then I just save it. Okay, add a slide, add activities. A quiz is just exactly like you probably have done in any other programs. You put your question here, your answers, and Nearpod will prompt you to make sure you choose the right answer. You can add an image over here if you would like. You can add a timer. So quizzes are very easy to add. Remember, they'll be graded for you. Add a slide. Add activities. This is the draw it that we did. And again, you put your instructions here. You can add the timer, which I often do when I'm doing a draw it, and I save it. Remember, all these new slides I'm adding are down at the bottom, and I'm just going to drag and drop them where I would like them in my presentation. This is a collaborate board. Again, you'll see you have your topic. We're talking about endangered species. Here's my question. And I could add an image. I can change backgrounds. I like the first three the best because I think the contrast is better for students to read. Add activities. A poll is just very simple to do. I do want to show you a little bit here on fill in the blank because it's a little bit different. Again, you can choose different fonts, colors. I tend to stick with the contrast there. And I'm going to type in my text, 3 large cities in Texas are Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. Now I can add a lot more text all that through down in here. Then I take the words that I want to become, after I get all my text in, I click next, and I click on Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. And this becomes my word bank for my students. But let me tell you this, I put Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. Now this will be graded for you. If the student responds Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, it's going to get marked wrong because it's not in the same sequential order. So I'm always very careful about when I have something like that to make sure maybe it's greater to smallest or something that's very sequential. For you that teach the very young students, this is memory test. This is like cat to cat, dog to dog, just turning the cards over, okay? Now I'm going to go back to my library here. So I've added a lot of slides. They were down here at the bottom. I'm going to be dragging and dropping them wherever I would like it, and I can save and exit. So now I've taken a lesson that was in the library. I made it fit my students. Now remember that I said, so let me just bring another one, that there were time declines, and we didn't have time to look at time declines, but I can find that by doing it as a search, and all the time declines that are, I'm in my library. Whoops, I have to be in the Nearpod library. Time to decline. And now I search. And here are all these time declines that are already made. And that's where I usually do that. But going back to my library, I want to just pull up, we eat plant parts. Okay, let me just, I'll be in edit mode. And I'm going to show you how, as soon as this comes up. So I have this slide here. When I click on it, this is where I would convert it to a draw it, okay? And if I convert it to a draw it, that means then, well, let me just do that. I'll click on convert to draw it. And all. So now when that slide comes up, those drawing tools are going to be on that slide. And I could say, circle the verbs in green and the nouns in yellow. Here's another slide. If I double click on it, and again, I just wanted you to see this. Down here at the bottom of these slides, I have some small icons. One is audio. And so I can put my voice on these slides. So I click audio recorder. I go and I click on the microphone. The main plant parts are roots, stem, leaves, flower, fruit. I can listen to it again. If I like it, I just save it. So you may have, again, I think of you that are teaching the younger students, or you have non-English readers or such, or they're not reading, and you need to read and to them. So that's a great tool as well. And okay, I'm going to stop just a moment. And I just, as I said, I wish we had 2 hours. Other burning questions? Okay, are we good?
Hey, Joan, this is Kiara from Nearpod. Thanks again for hosting this. Sorry I was a little late. I've been fielding questions in the chat, but you've been doing great. The 2 questions that I got were, do students need a login or will access be based on the code? Students do not need a login. They only access through the code like you did. We don't have student accounts with Nearpod. And Steve asked a question about if you're sending like a live session to students, do you have to also share your audio or they're just looking at your presentation? The answer is yes. If you're in a live lesson and you want to be like talking to your students, you would need to launch something like Zoom or Google Meets. As Joan just showed, you're able to record your audio, but you can't do it live.
Right. Okay, thanks. I didn't know you had gotten in. I'm glad because as I said, I did record it and I'm going to stop the recording right here.